Amend the Mass Media Group is California Capital's premier YouTube channel focused on reparations, dedicated to political advocacy and apologetically aimed at shining a spotlight on our righteous justice claim for reparations.
All right, sir. Can you say your name one more time?
Geoffrey Carr, Geoffrey Carr.
All right. Thank you very much. How long you been practicing law?
43 years plus.
43 years plus. And what's your specialty?
Criminal defense.
Okay. Why did you decide to become a lawyer?
On my second tour in Vietnam, I was a platoon sergeant. And as a platoon sergeant, I had to be involved in disciplining people that broke the rules, but then I also had to defend them. It's an odd system at the platoon level. And I decided in that process that I'd rather government than not. And so I came home, I went to college, went to law school based on that, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
Okay. What school did you go to undergrad?
I took a very prestigious route. I went to De Anza Junior College and San Jose State, and then what used to be called Hastings, which is now I still can't get the name right. University of San Francisco Law something, whatever. Yeah, that place.
All right. So you mentioned. I mean, normally I get to the questions, but sometimes I just start asking.
Yeah, go.
Questions.
Yeah,
we
do
start
it.
Finding,
Yeah. No, you got a nice
questions.
handle about you. Just go ahead and do it.
So you mentioned Vietnam.
Yeah.
Right, and your experience in Vietnam. Can you? I know there's some veterans that we all spoke to in Vietnam on this platform as well.
Okay.
At that particular time, especially because they're younger people, even myself, I don't even think I was around that time. So
You don't look to be.
So my father was alive at that particular time. Can you explain to our audience what was going on around that time during Vietnam, how Vietnam came about, and how the United States got involved?
Wow, we know. You said this was to be short. I was in Vietnam towards the end. The blush was off the rose. I was there 1970 to 72. I was a crew chief and door gunner on helicopters on Hueys, and I participated in the invasion of Cambodia, among other things, in 1970. My unit worked with Vietnamese people, with Vietnamese infantry, so I had a different view of the war in Vietnam than most, white cracker dildos that hated Vietnamese people. We didn't have that luxury because we worked with them every day, and I came to like them. So the end of the war was hard for me because the people we had supported, many of them got put in re-education camps and otherwise whatever. And I'm not commenting on the righteousness of either side in the war, just saying that the side I supported is the side that lost.
Okay. Since we're, kind of talking about justice and so forth, I mentioned that we're following the California Reparations Task Force. So how familiar you are with what's kind of going on right now?
I've been following it. I followed it since its inception. I know the report was out. I have mixed feelings about reparations, as in, for example, the outrage that's occurring in Tulsa, where the three survivors of the Tulsa, Black Wall Street were thrown out of court just yesterday. Those people deserve, and anybody involved in that deserves reparations a lot. I have a bigger problem with how we determine who gets it and who doesn't is my only concern. A lot of people deserve. Japanese Americans deserve it. Ex-slaves deserve it. I mean, there are a whole bunch of people that deserve it. The question is in the details, not in the what we believe should happen. It's can you convince a society to cough up some of the amounts of money that were discussed in your reparations group? Could that ever be something that could be done? So I'm in favor of it, but there's a limit as to how I think it could actually get done.
Okay, so just curious, what was that limitation that you're looking at?
Oh, I don't know. Somebody was talking about $1 million each or something, and that's an amount of money that I don't think politically right now could ever get funded. The thing then we have to remember too is the Japanese Americans had a reparations bill passed for them in the 80s or 90s. They have yet to collect, or are just now collecting, because it's one thing to say you'll do it, it's another thing to pay the money. So I'm using that experience of how long it took to get Japanese Americans reparations as the same thing could happen with this, is what I'm saying.
Okay. So I guess let's kind of get into what you can talk about the case with Emanuel Smith. So currently, from your understanding, what is he currently being charged with?
He's being charged with basically felony acting out when he was detained at gunpoint by a police officer out here on Highway 101 in midday, and the officer was doing some threatening things to him, and Emanuel thought he was going to get killed. He responded by trying to save himself, crossing a few lanes of the freeway, getting up on a truck of asphalt, and then resisting being taken into custody while he's on that top of that truck.
Okay, so what in the future, like what's going to happen with the case? What's the next step?
It's up to Emanuel. There are some choices on board. The judge in the case sees this as a mental health issue, to be honest, and would like it to send it that. He's very mental health oriented, which is a good thing in judges, by the way. And he would like to see Emanuel be diverted based on mental health issues.
Okay.
You're familiar with the new diversion programs in California?
No, I'm not.
There's a couple of them. There's misdemeanor straight diversion, and then there's mental health diversion on felonies and misdemeanors. And it's a good program. If you have someone who needs assistance with mental health, they go into a program. They just report to the court how they're doing in a mental health program that is developed by that person and their lawyers, and a mental health professional. And then if they complete that for a period of 2 years, then the case is dismissed.
Okay. I've got one more question for you. It's a little sensitive question for me because me being a black man, I know that we've had mass incarceration, unfortunately.
I've been fighting against mass incarceration in this county for 43 years. I've tried more cases for black people in this county because I opposed mass incarceration. But as a trooper, as a person in the field, my only ability to contest it was to say "F you" to the government and try cases, and I did that, and I developed a lot of success doing that.
So are you currently familiar with the bill that they're trying to get through the system? It's called ACA 8?
I've just heard about it recently. Have not become familiar with it.
Okay. Well, currently they're trying to pass a bill to end involuntary slavery here in California. So I guess my question, constitutionally wise here in California, is, and just being layman and just kind of ignorant of the Constitution.
Don't say that. Just ask your question. You're not ignorant of anything. You're probably no less ignorant than I am on that subject.
So how does the involuntary servitude impact mass incarceration here? And if for some reason it was removed from the California Constitution, how would that impact mass incarceration? I hope that my question.
Yeah, I read a summary of the bill. I wasn't sure that was its intention. What I understood, it was to direct judges to consider the disparate effects of mass incarceration on the racial profile of the defendant that's being sentenced. That's what I understand it to be. I don't know, and you never. I don't think anybody's ever going to get rid of the exemption to the slave prohibition against slavery under the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution and the similar state amendment. Has always been exempted for people doing time. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if that's ever going to change, but certainly being aware of the history of mass incarceration and how that impacts an individual defendant who may be in front of a judge is an important thing.
Okay. Is there any way that people can get in contact with you? If,
They can get their Ouija board, and then they go on the Ouija board until they see old man practicing law in San Mateo County. I'm Google Doodle. You can Zoom. I'm all that stuff. You can check me out to see what I've been up to. I without blowing too much smoke up my ass, I've been doing this a long time and had a lot of success at it. And particularly with my lovely co-counsel who you met, May Mar, we've done a lot of serious cases and had a lot of victories right here in San Mateo.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you for your